You. Okay. And just like that, let's get started.
We go.
Okay. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yes. Marvin Gilliam. Oh my goodness. Okay, first of all, let me do my intro right. Let me get right. Okay. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Schools Out the Podcast. I am your host, formerly known as Miss Johnson, but you can call me Ashley. And today I am here with my friend,
Yes.
my good friend and former teacher,
Yep.
Marvin Gilliam.
You can call me Mr. Gilliam or
Period.
Gilliam or G or Gilliam.
Okay.
All the names my kids used to call.
Period.
Actually, I say kids, but they still call me that when they see me outside. It's
Literally.
crazy. Yeah.
Never stop seeing your kids. Also,
Never. And never get tired of seeing them. Always love seeing them doing well.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I love seeing my kids.
Yeah.
To this day,
Yeah.
I have ones that look at me like, "You my teacher."
Right.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Oh my
Yep.
goodness. Marvin Gilliam. Okay, let's get right into it.
Let's talk.
He's here because he used to teach, just like I used to teach.
Mhm.
We used to teach, and school is out. So
School is out.
I want to know a little bit about your
Out.
journey. I want to know. How long were you a teacher?
So I taught for 12 years.
Okay.
12 years in Richmond Public Schools. Shout out to school, the Bulldogs. Now they changed their name and stuff, but it's forever.
Okay.
Forever a Bulldog. So yeah, that was it. That was my only stop.
Wow.
12 years there. It was like I was literally there like a whole school career.
That's incredible. I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, because my last guest served at the same school and only at that school for their entire teaching career.
That's what's up.
Come on. So shout out to y'all.
That's what's
Bulldogs, okay?
Bulldogs, baby. Bulldogs.
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, 12 years at one institution. Oh my goodness. So I'm sure you saw so much.
Oh my gosh.
And that's a tweet right there by itself.
Yeah.
But turnover had to be crazy.
Turnover was nuts. Yeah, turnover was nuts. So I'm gonna start where I started. So I started in 2007.
Okay.
And I almost quit after the first day of school.
Wow. Okay.
Like for real. Like it was I knew it was gonna be challenging, but it was way more challenging than I anticipated. So my first year was really hard. But after the first day of school, I came home, I watched Lean on Me, I watched Coach Carter, and I went to bed.
Okay.
And then I woke up the next morning and was like, am I going back in here? Yes, we're gonna do this. But I almost quit after day one. I was like, but what I recognized too was that the thing that really pushed me not to, particularly after the first year, was recognizing how much turnover my students already were experiencing. And having worked to building relationships takes time. Building presence takes time. So I remember the first day of school, my second year teaching, one of the students came back and they had like 3 or 4 teachers before me in the same subject and taught choir, and they had 3 or 4 directors before me that had all quit like either halfway through the year or they made it a year but didn't come back. And I remember one of the students coming to me my second year, the first day, and said, "You came back? We was trying to put you out." I was like, "Nah, y'all ain't running me away."
Yeah.
And from that moment, like with that group of students, that's when I had their respect. I mean, of course, the students turn over quick, 4 years, and they on to the next thing in their life. But with that group of students, I had garnered that respect. So it was really cool to be able to use them and work with them to help, kind of become a part of the culture, of the school in some really powerful ways. Yeah, man. So yeah.
Literally best part of the job, building relationships with those kids. It's so meaningful, and it really does, like, that love built covers a multitude. Come on, talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I'd have jumped in and pulled kids out of fights.
Love. You know what I'm saying?
Once I remember being a meme. I remember somebody record, kids, and I was teaching high school, they fighting in the hallway and I'm trying to break them up. And of course the video go around, and then next thing I know, it's a screenshot of me in the video. Somebody saw the video, saw me in it. A former student
Right.
screenshot. It was like, "Hey, yo, look at Gilliam. He's still out here breaking up fights like the Incredible Hulk." It was crazy, man. It
Oh
was
my
just
goodness.
like, and I was in that show, just like, yo. I was like, I kind of was like, Lord,
I mean, hey,
yes.
hey,
We was doing what we had to
you
do. We
turn
was doing
into
what we had to do.
Papa Gilliam,
Listen, man.
Mama
Yeah,
Ashley Johnson. Listen, I
yeah,
like for your kids,
absolutely, man.
you'll go there.
And all of the kids, not just kids in my class, like the whole school
Yeah,
was my kids, and
those are your kids,
all of them, all
literally,
every last one of them were my kids, and I tried to look out for them the
literally.
best I could. You know,
I can't explain to you how many kids I had in my classroom that did not belong
listen,
to me.
on the regular,
You're gonna have to remind me of your name again,
on the
sweetheart.
regular. Who are you?
What?
If you
Okay.
in here, you gonna sing.
You know what I'm saying?
If you in here, you
You
gonna
gonna do some
sing.
work.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Look, this
Yeah.
is what we
Yeah.
doing. We
Yeah.
singing.
No, for
You in
sure.
here? Nah, come on. I found some great singers that way too.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, who are you? Why you in here? Cause my friend in here. Oh, you sing? Come on, she's singing. You sing with her. You sing. You come over here. And then next thing I know, they with me after school, and then they enrolling in the class the next year. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that so much. So, like, what kind of things made you feel like I belong here? Because you wanted to quit day one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's start
Mm-hmm.
there. You wanted to quit day one,
Absolutely.
but you stayed for 12 years.
Lord have mercy.
So something along the way struck a chord with your heart.
Um, I think I mean honestly, it was the students. Like they were really the center of everything that I did. Even in the mistakes that I made,
Mm-hmm.
it was never a mistake that was not rooted in I'm trying to do the right thing for a kid,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that really was the thing. And once I was able to build relationship with kids, and then the students were able to kind of share, and they start sharing their gifts, talents, and we start singing around the school and doing little stuff. Then the teachers are like, oh, you doing something down there, and then when the teachers come to you, the English teacher come to you, he's like, I don't know why little Sean Quisha want to come to your class, but she want to come to your class as soon as she finish her work. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't gotta tell her you can't come all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But just knowing that and building a rapport with the students, just really being focused on the work. I mean, school got a lot of adult drama and all of that, but I tried as much as I could to stay out of that because my,
Yeah.
my goal was to really I wanted to teach high school because I was like, yo, this is a last opportunity to get kids before the real world really smacks them in the face, like
Mm-hmm.
fully. And for a lot of the kids, what I realized was like they was already dealing with the real world, like in
Yeah.
ways that I could not even fathom or imagine.
100%.
And so learning that was just like, all right, I gotta, I need to be present to help them, just to let them know that in spite of the craziness and the negativity they may have going on,
Mm-hmm.
that there is a positive presence that is here, like somebody that'll make space for you, hold space for you, and have conversation with you. It's gonna try to steer you the right way, even though you're not gonna listen the first 35 times I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, so I mean that really did become the reason that I stayed there. And I thought about leaving. Like I thought about leaving, a few times after that. Not just stop
Mm-hmm.
teaching, but leaving the school and going to a different school.
Okay.
Um, but I really did feel called to it. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds like that's very like churchy language, right? But but I really
Listen,
did
that's
feel
my native
called to
tongue.
it. Like it was
Yes.
my I mean, I felt like this was where I felt like this is where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I felt like that's where the grace was for me in that season. So I was just trying to do the best I could with honoring that. And I remember having a conversation with one of the like we had one-on-one counselors at school, and she was like, don't forget, this is a ministry just like what you do at church.
Yeah.
And I was like, I ain't forgot. I said, this actually is more real ministry than what we
Yeah. One
actually
hundred
do at
percent.
church.
100%.
Um, so yeah, so that's really what I mean. I really did feel like, yo, this is the Lord placing me here for this time, for this season, and I'm gonna just have plant whatever seeds I need to plant, water when I need to water, and when it's time to move on, we time to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Okay. So speaking of time to move on,
hmm
when did that pivot start to kind of take place?
Probably 20. So I started teaching in 2017, 2007.
Okay.
It's probably 2018. Um, Probably the 2017, 2018 school year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was feeling. I think because of some other things that were shifting around me. Like I literally feel like. I mean, I was joking about being there like 12 years, and it feeling like, a school career. But I really do feel like I grew up a lot in that 12 years. I
Yeah.
started teaching when I was 25. I was single.
Mhm.
I was it was just me. And by the time, I stopped teaching at 37, I was married with 3 kids. You
Mhm.
know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like
Mhm.
life priorities have shifted. I kind of acknowledged some other things in terms of calling. I tell people all the time, my first church was my classroom. Um, 122 Baptist Church
Come
at
on.
the end of the hall down there in
Come
Georgia.
on.
Like that was my first church that I pastored, and it really did prepare me. And I started pastoring while I was also teaching. And so I kind of felt 2017, it was just like, man, this is starting to become really hard.
Yeah.
It's just not the kids so much. The kids was gonna be a challenge. You had the seasons of up and down. You had the times you had a group of kids that come in and just kill it, and then you go through 2 or 3 years where you just get one or two or just a few kids. But what was really becoming hard was all of the like administration stuff, like
Yeah.
all of the stuff coming down from like central office, and I really did begin to feel like teachers were getting the blame for everything that was going wrong with these
Mhm.
kids,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel like it was and I didn't feel like it was fair,
Right.
because we had 90 minutes with these kids every other day, which at most that's 4.5 hours out of a week that we're trying to make an impact, do something positive, and steer them in the right direction, and then they leave out of our classroom and they can go to the next teacher's class, or they can get on the bus and go home, and they go back to the neighborhood, and anything that we said is overwhelmed by everything else that's going on
Mhm.
around them. And so just kind of the I think just kind of the strain of that cycle for me just got really hard.
Mhm.
Um, and dealing with how the central office folks, they coming in like, you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that. And I'm like, yo, I'm doing the best I can, man. Y'all
Yeah.
ain't resourcing me the way I need to be resourced.
Talk about
Y'all
it.
ain't making the arts a priority like they need to be. When what I'm
Mhm.
saying, like Mr. Holland's Opus is probably the movie that I was like, in my mind, I was like, that's what I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be Mr. Holland. I want my kids to come back together and write me a song
Uh-huh.
at the end
Uh-huh.
of 30 years. Like I just was like, yeah, that's what it's gonna be. But one of the things that he said, I remember him saying at the end of the movie, was he went to the school board when they were talking about cutting the band program, and he was like, y'all so focused on the kids reading and writing. He was like, if you cut the arts, they're not gonna have anything to read and write about. And
Mhm.
I was like, man, like a
Mhm.
lot of these kids, the only reason they were coming to school was my class. The only reason they was coming was my class, and so not to have what we needed, to have to like, I mean, man, like coming money out your own pocket, time, picking kids up, taking kids last minute runs to get shirts and stuff for performances, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Like, it was
Mhm.
it was a lot. It was a lot. And not having to, like the folks that probably needed to be held accountable, our
Yeah.
parents, on a larger scale. Um, but it's like, how do you do that? And then recognizing some of the parents, man, they just doing the best they can.
Yeah.
You know. Um, and so all of that just kind of made it a lot more challenging for me to just kind of stay in that space, and I could recognizing the way needed to show up at home. um it was really hard for me to do that, carrying what I was carrying from the school system. Like I come home and
Mhm.
just be dead tired, but I got one little kid and then two little kids looking at me like, daddy, play with me, and I'm like, bro, I'm tired. I don't have it.
Yeah, that's
And
so real.
and then I'm a fool because I'm pastoring the church too and dealing with them, dealing with that stuff.
That's
So
so real.
so it was just a lot, and it just came to a point where I was like, all right, there's a decision that is coming. I got to figure out how much longer I can do all of this together. And at that time, I was pastoring a church in Caroline County, and um, and then I decided to then I got called to a church in Richmond,
Okay.
which I was like, oh, all right, this would be good for the fam because I'm closer. I ain't got to
Mhm.
go an hour away. I'm like 15 minutes away, from the crib. Like that'll work. That'll work better. And so then once I got called to the church, that was the end of March. Well, that was the end of 2020. No, 2020. Lord have mercy. No, the end of 2018.
Okay.
I started in March of 2019. 2 weeks after I started, this was probably the confirmation sign it was time for me to leave for
Okay.
real. The principal my principal at the time, who who we started at school together.
Okay.
She had moved from AD to assistant principal to principal. Um, we had this great relationship, and she understood what I was doing. So the whole time I'm going through the process, she was like working out the master schedule to make sure I was good because she understood both sides of everything I was doing. And she told us in a faculty meeting that she was being terminated.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, so this is how you gonna get me up out of here?" Because I was trying to figure out in my mind, like, all right, I'm gonna make this work at least for another year. Um, but when she said she won't coming back, I was like, either am I.
Yeah.
I said I just didn't want to have to. I just didn't want to have to go through the burden of explaining stuff to another principal, and having to adjust the space in that way. And I also felt like, and I also was really burnt out with trying to. Um, this another church reference. Sorry. So if you ain't, I'm sorry. I'm a pastor. I'm a
I'll
preacher,
translate.
man.
I'll translate. Go ahead. Hmm.
I was really tired of having to build bricks with no straw. I
Yeah.
was really tired of I'll translate it. I got a couple of ways I could translate this, but I'm gonna just keep it because I'm a pastor, I'm gonna keep my little. But anyway, I was tired of having to make lemonade out of apples.
Oh. Okay.
It was just really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um and what they were expecting us to do in the arts classroom with kids who had not been properly trained or honestly didn't have interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so having to try to build, the constant cycle of building and rebuilding of course happens, but having in this season to really build out of, I feel like, man, like, it's not that the kids were great kids, they just
Mm-hmm.
weren't interested, and that's
Yeah.
cool, like, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. I would prefer for students to be where they're interested.
Yeah.
You want to do art, go to art. You want to dance, go to dance class. You want to write, go to creative writing. Like, you're in high school, this is the time where you're supposed to be leaning into the things that you love and honing those crafts and getting those 10,000 hours to get to expert level.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't get that sitting in my classroom
Yeah.
and not participating. And I don't want to, just little stuff they were asking us to do. You can't give kids zeros, you got to give them 50s. Like, life don't do that.
You know what I'm saying?
Life don't do that.
Not at all. It's handing out O's all day long.
Yeah, like if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. They don't give you a half a check. They'll
That's not
get
how it
no. We're gonna
works.
pay you. We're gonna pay you $3 an hour instead of $6. No, like that's not how that works. What are we
Right.
doing?
Right. Right.
So I really do feel like yes, there are some challenges for there were some challenges for a lot of our young people, still are, um, but I just didn't feel like we were preparing them
Yeah.
like we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what, yeah, that's that was like the long and the short term. It was like, oh, you leaving, I'm out too.
Yeah.
and
So real.
and it was hard. It was so hard. It was so hard. It was so
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Love that.
Yeah.
Now, now that you're gone, right? This is still past tense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the principal was leaving. You've already kind of, the seed had been planted
Mm-hmm.
already.
Mm-hmm.
And that's real. When the seed is planted,
Mm-hmm.
it's gone. It's been to happen.
Yeah.
It's been to
Yeah.
happen. I had mentioned before, once I say it out of my mouth, I think we're already
We
there.
already on our
Like,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
cause it's one thing for it to kind of be like a thought. I can kind of sit with thoughts sometimes because all thoughts are not my thoughts.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it's just
You
stuff,
choose your thoughts. You can
you
choose
know,
which ones you want to lean into.
and so
Yeah.
I didn't want to give that too much.
Yeah.
But once it actually came out of my mouth that I'm not gonna be doing this too much more longer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna be
Mm-hmm.
before you long. Is really what
Right.
I said. Come on now, hello. Like, once it's said, it's done. It's
Yeah.
really done. And
Yeah.
so once you were done, right? You've left George Wythe, and this is fresh and new.
Mm-hmm.
How did it feel not to be Mr. G, Mr. Gilliam, Gil I am? What did that transition specifically feel like for you?
Man, it was so hard. Like it was hard in a way of, one. It was like I remember the last day of school, and like taking in that this was my last day of school as a teacher.
Mhm. Mhm.
And of course, we had been through, high school is different because like senior class they graduate before the school year ends, and
Mhm.
so that kind of started the process. So I'm like, I already feel like I'm in this like grieving process already because I
Mhm.
remember taking a picture of my graduation program, posting on Instagram, and the caption was one last song for the class of 2019 and for me hashtag 12 years a teacher. And I just remember after that song, I was just like, after we did the alma mater at the end of the graduation,
Mhm.
I was just like, yo, that's the last time I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Right.
man, that's crazy. Right. And so, go back to school, you closing out the year. Like a lot of kids stopped coming after they take exams, but some
Right.
kids came. They knew because they knew by that time that I was leaving, they'd come, they'd hang out, whatever. Um, but the last day of school was crazy. I walked out and I had on bulldog polo, walked out to the bus ramp or to the Crutchfield side of the building and watched the buses leave, and I was just like, yo, this is crazy. And I feel it like coming. I'm like, nope, we're G. We ain't doing this right now. We not doing this. We not doing this. The bus is taking out, we doing that. Everybody, had like a little meeting with some of my coworkers in my department, because one of my coworkers is actually retiring, as well. And and so we, met real quick, and they were just like, "Oh, we just want to say thank you," because we didn't know who was going to see the next week, when the teachers came back. And and then I remember, packing up my stuff. I knew I had to come back and all of that. So, pack my stuff, go to the car. I get in the car, and before I get out the parking lot, I'm in full blown snotty mouth, snotty nose, just boohoo.
Yes. Mhm.
Like, and uh, I think it was in that moment realizing not just how much I had changed and grown,
Mhm.
but how much I had really grown to love the place.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and not just the place, but the people, both staff that I liked, staff that I didn't like, um, students that I liked, students that I didn't like. All of those kind of memories, just kind of, just kind of. I mean, I feel like they just started coming out through my eyes and tears, like, and it was just like, wow, like, yo, this is like the last day of school. I'm driving away from the building, like this. Like, and I knew I had to come back and like close out stuff,
You
but it
know
was
that there's
just,
that,
but it
but
was like that was like the last day of school
right.
because really what makes it up is the students for me.
Yeah.
And so it was just really hard, man. I was crying, and I called my
Yeah.
wife, and I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Uh,
I should be happy, but because I think I was happy about the transition,
yeah.
but also recognizing that this was such, like, I hadn't done anything else in my life for that long in
Yeah.
one place,
Yeah.
you know, and recognize how much I had given of myself and how much I received, and even think about it now, it's just like, man, like that shaped me and set me up for what I'm doing with my kid. Like, I'm a better father
Yeah.
to my kids
Mhm.
because I was a teacher.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
see, I told you this was gonna happen.
Listen, look, the doors of the church are open.
Lord have mercy. She got me
Yes.
over here. My eyes get this little, it's the plant. I'm allergic. Uh,
You
but
just
yeah,
gonna
it was just like, and I think going through the summer, because the summer was the summer. It
right.
was, I don't even know. It might have been like the first day of school that I was just like, yo, I'm really not going back in there.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. I don't got no key. I don't got a classroom key. I don't. I ain't meeting no new students.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways, and this is why I say I really do feel like that how this worked out was providential, because the next school year was the 2019-2020 school year.
Okay.
I had a 5-year-old
Mhm.
that was starting kinder. No, did he start kindergarten? No, he started in the fall of 2020. They were at preschool. I had a 4-year-old about to turn 5,
Mhm.
3-year-old about to turn 4, and a 1-year-old about to turn 2.
Mhm.
My wife was working on. My wife was working down at Fort Lee, Fort Greg Adams now. And I don't conceivably see how there's any way that I would have been able to teach in a pandemic.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness.
So I feel like it was I do feel like it was providential
Mm-hmm.
that it was just like, nah, this is the time to move because you got to be in place to help manage this other thing that you don't have no idea is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And before I knew it, our world was flipped up down. And as we're going through it, I'm just sitting there thinking like, there is no way I would have mailed it in. Everybody would have got A's. That I would
Listen,
not have logged on to no virtual classroom for what?
listen. It was hard work. It was hard work. But I completely understand what you mean.
Man,
How you feel about the 2020 school year and how it's just like, no, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And
yeah.
I'm glad that I got out
Mm-hmm.
prior to that happening,
Mm-hmm.
is how I feel present day with this administration in this climate,
Yep.
me being Miss Johnson.
Yeah.
I I cannot see it. I can't see it. I'm
Yeah.
stressed. I
Yeah.
can't see it.
Yeah.
Like I would not be showing up as my best self. And I'm sure in your 12 years of teaching in one place, you've seen what it looks like when a teacher is not
Oh Lord
coming
have
as their
mercy.
best self.
I didn't seen it. I lived it.
Come
I
on.
mean, my whole last school year, I remember having an exit conversation with my um, instructional specialist and just telling her I was just like, oh, this was mind you, I told you I was going to quit the first day after the first day of school.
Mind you, yes.
I said this is my worst year teaching ever.
Wow.
I said I just wasn't. I said I didn't feel as supported as I need to, and I just didn't show up, and I just didn't. I just didn't have it. And
Hmm.
some of it was just burnout.
Yeah.
It was just burnout from constant berating about lesson plans and this and that
Hmm.
and all the things. You know, it's just being burnt out. I said that was my worst as a teacher. That was my worst. I mean, I spent more days showing up terrible.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And that's the other piece that I think I knew that I needed to move on. That
Yeah.
there was somebody else that could fill the space
Hmm.
and do it well. Whether that person stayed there for a year or they stayed there for 12 years or they stayed there for a full career, like there was somebody else
Hmm.
that could come in and do it better than I had capacity to.
Yeah.
Um because it was just getting so hard.
Yeah, I think it's the most noble thing for you to recognize how you're showing up in a space and
Yeah.
deciding to do something about that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's what's best for you, and ultimately what's best for the
Right.
kids, because the kids can feel that.
Absolutely.
They know when you off. They be
Absolutely.
like on your nerves about you being off. Like,
Yeah.
Miss Johnson,
What's wrong with
what's
you?
wrong with you? You okay, Miss Johnson? Why you looking like that, Miss Johnson? Like, and it'll.
Yep. Yep.
Ooh, it'll stress you out if you let it. But
Yeah.
like, because of where you already are. But like, my God, those kids can feel it, and
Yeah.
it's no hiding. It's no hiding, and it's so many kids, mind you. Like, it ain't just like
Right.
your kids at the house, and you got a couple of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Pray. I had 3. Pray
But
for me.
classrooms full of
Yeah.
children who really are tapped in and care about you,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
it's overwhelming. It's beautiful, but it's two sides of a coin. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's overwhelming, overbearing love.
Yeah.
It's love that they're missing in other spaces. So they really getting
Mm-hmm.
it from you. So it's just like they give you
Yeah.
110% of it. And it's so beautiful. And I miss that. I do miss that. I really, like we talked about in the very beginning of this episode, like the connections that you build with
Oh
these
man.
children are just like some of the most pure and beautiful things ever. Just organic.
Yeah.
Some of them you got to work a little hard for. You
Lord
know what
have
I'm
mercy.
saying?
Yes,
My
Lord.
God, because they got some shells on them.
Yeah.
They got
Yeah.
some shells on them. But like, I know what kind of person you are, like personally. So I feel like you were my kind of teacher, like
Oh man.
the one that took the time,
Oh
the
yeah,
one
yeah,
that got
yeah.
to know and
Man, I'm
and
gonna pull
really,
you to the side and be like, hey,
yeah,
what's going on with you?
yeah,
What you need? You
yeah.
hungry? You need a hug?
You know what I'm
What you
saying?
need? What's happening?
Because something's
You
happening.
came in the classroom, you usually lit up.
Yeah,
You're usually excited. What's wrong? You're angry
yeah.
today. You threw my chair. What is happening?
My God, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that.
Right,
Let's
right.
talk about it. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
yeah, so you've already touched on this thing a little when you talked about the boohoo crying and
Oh
not knowing where
Lord.
that was coming from, and then when the school year was about to start back up, it's like, whoa, I'm really not going back.
Yeah.
There's a word I like to use.
Mm-hmm.
There's a word I like to use for
Uh-huh.
this. You know what
Uh-huh.
I'm saying? And this word for me, I'm learning. I keep banging this microphone.
Yeah.
I apologize. This word I'm learning, and I'm still working through it myself because
Yeah.
my, leaving my tenure has been a little bit more recent than
Sure.
yours. But grief.
Yeah, man. I don't think that I think culturally we talk so much about grief in relation to death death of an individual that we
Yeah.
don't think about it in the context of death of a relationship, death, a transition,
Yeah.
just like a change in circumstance,
Mhm.
but all of us in some way, somehow we're dealing with some level of grief.
Yeah.
That older folks that are dealing with the grief of not being as mobile as they used to be.
Yes.
What
Yes.
I mean? And
Mhm.
and we forget that that brings up particular emotions in us. It brings up anger and frustration and all of these things. Um and so yeah, I think I would say I probably in the moment wouldn't have named it
Mhm.
in that way.
Right.
But it absolutely was grief.
Mhm.
And that I was feeling like immediate grief, like the death of a loved one type grief. But then I think it's that subtle grief of, man, like I used to do this and used to so it. So man, I used to do crazy stuff. I used to just go to South Side for no reason.
Okay.
It just why am I over here?
I d-
Why am
don't
I
have
going?
a
Why am I
reason
going to
to be
South
here.
Side? I don't have no reason to ride down.
Just in
I'm gonna take the
Southside.
I'm gonna take the long way
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
just want to see what I mean, and I still do that actually from time to time now, mostly because mostly because I like want to see. I'm excited that they get a new school
Yeah.
finally.
Okay.
And so like I just want to kind of see the progress on the building.
Mhm.
But before it won't no progress. They hadn't even confirmed it was gonna build nothing, and so it was just riding by because I
Yeah.
was just used to going that way.
Right. Right.
um it's texting with coworkers that are still there or communicating with them, um that just what's going on, everything all right over there, or,
Mhm.
or popping up. I think I went to like the homecoming pep rally.
Uh huh.
They was like, you should come back for the pep rally, and I was just like, okay, but then I was just like, this is weird because I don't work here no more. Like, why am I here? Like, what I'm saying, what's going on? So just little things like that,
Yeah.
um that really were about like how much I just miss kind of the rhythm
Mhm.
of what was happening.
Yeah.
And so it does take some time, and I don't think, in reflecting on it, I don't think I handled it well, like in terms of preparing for it. Like I wasn't like, um I wasn't like crazy emotional or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
just don't I think I could have been more intentional about the ways that I handled, um when those feelings came up,
Yeah.
like in terms of naming them and things like that. So um but yeah, but it was definitely it's definitely the small things.
Mhm.
The first day of school rhythms,
Yes.
oh, we would be getting ready for a concert, seeing folks getting ready for like, district assessments and stuff like that on
Yeah.
Facebook. And I'm like, man, that would be me right now. Also, I'm glad I'm not there. But I miss the like, I miss the prep and there's certain things that you do miss about the interaction.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so there's so many, just a lot of ways that I think, I don't know, maybe we call it micro grief.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We can call it like micro grief because it's these little small
Uh
moments
huh.
where it's just like, oh man, I missed that. But it's also okay to miss that and be very happy about the next thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
um and so and grief is a sign that you're comfortable with something, or that you love something
Mhm.
deeply.
Mhm.
um and I think for me it was that, like, I really did pour myself into what was happening with my kids and my students and being in the classroom.
Mhm.
um and so then I just try to pour myself other places sometimes, like
Mhm.
in the stuff that was happening with the church, or being with the kids, and just trying to make all of that, helping them, grow, develop, and all of those things. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so I found ways to kind of still be around education. The coolest thing that I've done recently that keeps me around kids, I taught bucket drumming
Okay.
at my kids' school, bucket drumming
Oh, that
club
is
for
so
8 weeks.
special.
Listen, I
8 weeks.
8 weeks, 25 minutes before school once a week.
Yeah. Oh my
And
goodness.
have I ever been a bucket drummer? No, never, never.
No.
I'm not a. I'm barely a boom tap on a regular set. I'm not. No, I ain't one of those dudes. No, I am. I'm gonna keep time. Boom, clap.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, clap. I'm basic.
Yeah.
But it was enough. It was enough, and I was just like, I could do that.
Yeah.
What am I doing from 7:20 to 7:45 in the morning that I
Mhm.
can't
Mhm.
contribute that one time a week at the school?
Yeah.
And we had. I mean, Dave had a great time. I done grown a little bit. Maybe I could do a little bit more than boom tap on the drum, man.
Hey. Hey.
But it's been, but just finding other ways to still channel that like teacher part of me,
Yeah.
and wanting to interact with kids part of me, like doing that in a really, in a really intentional way has been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I love that. For me, my coworkers still call me for things. The most recent thing that I did was I taught boots on the ground
Oh,
at a block party at an
where them
elementary school.
fans at?
They had fans and everything.
That is
Yeah,
funny.
so I took the time. I
That's
taught
what's
boots
up.
on the ground, and we all did it together, and it was very fun. It almost was like a high school reunion
Yeah.
because all of my high school classmates have children now who
Wow.
go to these schools, and like
Wow.
it blows my mind still because
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm the baby. You
Yeah.
understand? Like
Yeah.
the grandma is the baby.
Yeah.
I can't like I. Hmm.
That is funny. It's
Yeah.
trippy. What was trippy for me going to my kid's school and seeing seeing a former student
Mm.
there, and she had like 3 or 4 kids at the school with my kids. I was just like, did I? You started early because I ain't started late.
Hello? Cause wait a minute. Well, something's a
Yeah.
little different
Right,
here.
right, right. I'm watching kids. They got, I'm watching former students, man. They got kids. I mean, they
No,
grown now. I mean,
seriously.
they are grown, grown. I mean,
Hmm.
I was 25 teaching in high school. So, like, those first couple of classes, I mean, we only 7 or 8 years apart,
Right, right,
So, that, I mean, I got, former students are grown, grown. They got kids that are graduating and about to graduate high school because they had them when they was there with me.
right,
You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
just like crazy, man. It's
It
just
is crazy.
so insane.
I have children, so I taught all levels.
Yeah.
I was all up and through elementary, middle, and high. So I have a variety of students, a range of
Mm-hmm.
ages. I got
Mm-hmm.
some that graduated college already, and I got
Yeah.
some that are just babies.
Yeah.
Um, I run into them at church. So
Mm-hmm.
I've run into kids at your church.
Oh wow.
Yes, your church. I run into kids at the other two churches I work at. Like they're everywhere. I run into them at the grocery
Yep.
store.
Yep.
Like they're literally everywhere, and it blows my mind. I can't remember names all the time,
Right.
but I remember exactly where I know them from. I can place the
Mm-hmm.
classroom. I can place the school.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I remember these children. I mean, like man, and yes, seeing them be grown and have their own lives, and specifically having children, it just
It's crazy.
eh,
Yeah.
hallelujah. What you say?
Yeah.
Pray.
Pray.
We praying.
Pray,
We praying.
Lord.
Are y'all praying
Yeah.
hard enough? Is my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's crazy. Earlier you said naming grief. You wouldn't have been able to name it grief at the
Yeah.
time, and me being just a year out, I think it's a fresh revelation
Mm-hmm.
for me. Come on, church.
Yeah.
We're still in the
Fresh
tabernacle.
revelation.
Uh-huh. It does. It feels like a fresh revelation for me. At the time I knew I was transitioning, and like I mentioned to you before, um, that my transition was not something that I necessarily planned for.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that was on my mind. It was something that I had said out loud.
Yeah.
So I knew that day would come,
Yeah.
but it was still an unexpected transition for me. And so I think I felt the grief immediately,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't name it, not thinking about that, just
Mm-hmm.
in the feels.
Yeah.
But to the point where like I think, and maybe this is healthy, maybe it's not. That's for me and my therapist to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I typically kind of disengage.
Mm.
And it's a way of me coping. Um so my fifth grade class was graduating,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I was transitioning out of this school.
Yeah.
I was not able to show up for them kids. I couldn't do it.
Oh wow.
I couldn't do it. I could not look at them in their graduation gear because the tears that I felt wouldn't have only been happy tears for them. It,
Mm-hmm.
it, it was heavily related to
Yeah.
grief on my end.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot
Yeah.
show up for these kids
Yeah.
like this.
Right.
And so I had to make the choice to show up for myself. And I really just, I as quietly as I could, I just tried to move my stuff out
Mm-hmm.
and do my thing and
Yeah.
just and the school at the time too, they were changing a lot of stuff. So a lot of staff was transitioning out. But they were also moving rooms to different spaces in this. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
having, or I was being asked to, let me be clear, I was being asked to move my classroom from one space to a whole nother space. But I'm like, I'm
Mm,
already not coming back next year, friend. So
right.
I'm not moving nothing.
Right. Y'all got
You won't be seeing me
it.
move a thing. I'm not moving nothing. I'm
Yeah.
moving my stuff to the car,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll see y'all later. But the grief was so heavy for me, and it was ongoing because I really didn't know what was next. Because again, I wasn't planning for
Right.
this, so it was just like, oh my god, and one thing I have to often remind myself is that I'm like well taken care of. That doesn't help me in the times when I'm feeling the grief the heaviest,
Mm-hmm.
but it is consistent
Yeah.
with the history of my life
Yeah.
that I am taken care
Mm-hmm.
of. And so as I was transitioning out of the school, I got offered a job at a church to be full time and, do
Mm-hmm.
that thing. And I was not sure that I ever wanted to do church work again full time.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the timing of it all, I had to step
Yeah.
into it because
Right.
it felt like,
Just the door that's open.
you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, when I say wide open, with
Right.
my name on
Right.
it with lights, you know what I'm saying? I said, okay,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
ran through that one.
my
Yeah.
God. But yeah, again, I couldn't name it because I was so deep in it,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But grief stayed with me for a while about my transition out
Yeah.
of it, and not being Miss Johnson anymore really worked on
Mm-hmm.
me. I didn't know how I was supposed to dress anymore. Which I
Mm.
mean, it sounds
Yeah.
silly, but
That's
like,
it. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? My style even developed over time. Like, it's so funny because you couldn't have done the 2020 teaching, and I respect that. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I started a new position in 2020
My Lord and my God.
after losing my sister. You understand?
Wow.
So
So you
like,
got grief on top of
listen,
grief.
oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of my last little stint was associated with grief. It
Yeah.
just was for me.
Yeah.
And because I started, my sister passed away September 3rd of 2020. I had a over the phone interview on September 8th.
Wow.
I had to sit right there and be my
Mm-hmm.
best presenting self
Yeah.
to a panel of 8 or more people
Mm-hmm.
trying to get this job.
Yeah.
And I got the job. And of course, it was virtual and not virtual. I had to still drive to people's houses and do
Mm-hmm.
what I could. But that was that was the start of a new chapter for
Yeah.
me. And it was a rough start.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? A
Yeah.
grief filled start.
Right. Right.
And I'm not sure that I ever really shook that off me. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that just kind of like, I was growing, I was getting better in those last 4 years. And I can tell that by my comfort in expressing myself, advocating for the children without hesitation, and um and just the growth of my wardrobe and my
Mm-hmm.
personal style.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a telltale sign, me
Mm-hmm.
personally.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, okay,
Yeah.
something's changed,
Yeah.
something's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, even my style just got better, and was another connecting piece for me, with parents and
Right.
families and students. And so I felt most like myself right at the end.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what's very interesting about that is, and I hadn't really until I heard you talk about and share your story right now. I hadn't really thought about the connection between like grief and the revelation of our authentic self.
Wow.
Um, and I say that because, you know, at the end, I think part of my wanting to move on in the transition,
Mhm.
was recognizing that I was becoming something different.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and it's just, you know, when I think back about that time, and about kind of, even that was kind of like the starting point, that grief. And this might be something just like a takeaway to think about, and a way to frame grief.
Mhm.
Grief grief is about the thing that we feel we're losing,
Mhm.
but it also is about the thing that we are becoming.
Mhm.
And so for me, leaving, again, I shared that was 12 years. It's the longest, outside of being Marvin and Pat's son. That's like the
Yeah.
longest thing that I've done in my life.
Right.
Um, I mean, now it's not, because I've been married for a long time
Come on.
too.
Come
But
on.
at that point in time, it was the
Yeah.
longest thing I'd done.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so there was this, that was that moment of leaving, and even the grief that I experienced from that, it was also a genesis of me going on this journey of like rediscovering myself. Because, to your point, because I've been wrestling with you when you said I wasn't Miss Johnson anymore, and in my
Yeah.
mind I'm like, yo, you always gonna be Miss Johnson to them.
To them. Yes. Yes.
Like, I'm always gonna be Gilliam to them. Like, my kids see me now. I saw a couple of students a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
They out here doing great work in the
Mhm.
city.
Mhm.
Phenomenal work. So proud of them. I saw them. It was like, Gilliam, what's up? I'm
Mhm.
always be Gilliam. Cool.
Yeah.
But also, how much of our identity have we attached to said thing that we've lost? And now you got to rediscover Ashley, had to rediscover
Mhm.
Marvin, and put me on this. It really did set me on this journey of like, okay, so who am I without this?
Yeah.
Because the way life works is so much of our role in life, and American culture works, is so much of our roles become intertwined with our identity.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for me it was part of my transition, was like, I showed up as this particular way, just clean cut, you know, low cut Caesar, maybe a fade.
Mhm.
If I want to feel fancy, I'm gonna throw a little part in there.
Uh-huh.
Right?
For a little
Like,
razzle
a little
dazzle.
razzle dazzle.
Mhm.
When I was, you know, when I was at school, had my, like you said, wardrobe for school.
Mhm.
Um, show up as a pastor. I showed up that way as a pastor when I started,
Mhm.
and but I think some of the grief that I experienced led me to on this process of exploration. So now, like, I show up completely different in 2025 than I did in 2020.
Yeah.
There are a lot of factors to that. I think the pandemic was part of that. There's some personal things that was happening
For
as part of
sure.
that. But I became a different, and I would say a better, not, I don't even know if it's better, a more authentic version of
Yeah.
myself
Love that.
through the grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
That's what grief does for us.
Mhm.
Um that it is that we can find some gifts in that
Yeah. For
process,
sure.
to help us to, we're going to continue to carry the loss of people, of relationships, of situations, of seasons, um but also we have to, I think, reframing it, help to find the gifts in the grief,
Mhm.
help us to embrace it, and to grow and to heal from it.
Yeah.
Not even heal from it, just to be able to live in a more fuller way.
Yeah.
You know, I think we hear that oftentimes in funerals, and, you know, when
Mhm.
people we love pass away, that, you know, they will want you to live your best life. You know,
Mhm.
stuff like, you know, comments like that we'll hear at funerals. And I think in some ways that happens with any situation that we grieve. That
Mhm.
we have to ask, how is this pushing us to a better version of myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. When you were talking, I think I thought about like metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Like, that process, we know
Yeah.
it to be like, okay, it's a caterpillar, it's a cocoon, it's a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
But have we thought about what it feels to the body to be growing wings that you've never grown before?
Oof.
To have to be wrapped up in a cocoon in darkness for
Mm-hmm.
however long.
To have this sense to know when it's time to do that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how uncomfortable
Right.
must that be though?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's really where the growth is.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the discomfort, when
Yeah.
we're comfortable. And a lot of times I've stayed at a lot of places, and I'm not even going to talk about school. I mean, I had a lot of jobs before becoming Miss Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
but I stayed in so many places because of comfort.
Yeah.
Because I know what to expect. I
Right.
know how you finna act. So
Yep.
like I can prepare for that,
Yep.
but that's like a control thing at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, like, but there is this like unexpectedness, this like you really can't tell what you're gonna get with kids sometimes. And that's the beauty sometimes of that
Mm-hmm.
work too. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like you really could come in to anything, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just gotta be ready to roll with
Got it
it.
ready to roll with it.
Oh my God.
Always on your
Oh
toes.
my
Yeah.
God.
Always on
But
your
yeah, I
toes. Yeah.
mean, yeah, I really thought about that butterfly metamorphosis thing
Yeah.
when you were talking, because like, yeah, I mean, it's not comfortable. It can't be.
Right.
It
Right.
can't be. It can't be.
And we don't grow in comfort
No.
as humans. As
Mm-mm.
people, we grow. Discomfort pushes us to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for
So.
real, with that, I want to say shout out to you again for knowing when it was time for you to pivot. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Lord have mercy.
For knowing it was time for you to grow in a different way, in a
Yeah.
different space outside of this thing, for knowing that maybe somebody else has the capacity to carry this torch,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I got to put it down.
Got to put it down. I'm gonna pass. Somebody gonna pick it up.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Somebody pick it up, and the kids
For
will be all right.
real.
Yeah.
Seriously, shout out to you.
Yeah.
You're that one for that. For real. For real. I mean, I literally, like, people say that they have such respect for teachers because I could never do it.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, mad respect for teachers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mad respect. Always. We've been that. We're still that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But also mad respect for the people who put that work in and transitioned out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I think this idea of the Schools Out podcast and the idea of it really was birthed out of a conversation I was having with a random stranger.
Mm.
And she also was a teacher. So I had said that I put 10 years into being
Mm-hmm.
Miss Johnson, and I have respectfully put that down.
Mm-hmm.
And the way she responded was like, well, I did 25. So yeah. And I'm like, I mean, okay. I mean, good for you. That's nice. I love that
Thank
for
you for your
you. You know
service.
what I'm saying? I salute you, sis.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why
Right.
you said it like that. And it just, it kind of, I think, was intended to make me feel like I dropped the ball. Like, you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, you couldn't do
Oh,
it.
you couldn't stay
Yeah.
longer.
I wouldn't. I can't relate.
Right.
I
Right. I
put
can't
you know
relate.
what I'm saying? I
I'm so.
retired from teaching.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that for you, but I do
Yeah.
think that people who put in 10 and 12 years
Right.
also can, you know what I'm saying, also deserve that same
Absolutely.
respect,
Man, you
because
step into a classroom with young people, you don't know what they bring into the table.
literally,
It's, you trying to figure it out. You're in an under resourced space, a lot of times. You underpaid
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you sacrifice your own you sometimes things from your own home, taken away from what you actually need to make sure somebody that's not biologically connected to you has what they need.
literally,
Man, that's it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a
yeah.
beautiful thing. But also you got to know when enough is enough.
When to hold them and when to fold them.
Know when to
Come
hold,
on, come on.
know when to fold. And I
It,
folded after 12
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah. Know when to walk away and know when to run.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, for real. For real, for real.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, to wrap up, if someone listening
Mm-hmm.
is silently grieving
Mm.
their own transition of teaching, what would you say to them?
one, find ways to not be silent about the grieving. So just I said earlier that I don't think I handled it as well. One of the practices I'm trying to get better at, I go through it well in seasons, is journaling. Um, and so just, I mean, finding ways to allow those things, allow yourself to process the emotions fully. Don't be silent and hold on to them and not process them, because that ultimately want to do, that'll make it harder to deal with the grief in general. But then also you miss out on the opportunities to grow,
Yeah.
you know, the opportunities to pick up on, kind of lessons and things. And even in that, you might discover, I'm not teaching anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. But there's something there that I can take and transition into this next season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, just a point of pivoting from actually teaching to now talking about teaching on a podcast. It's
Mm-hmm.
like saying, like, my experience has value,
Yeah.
and the experience of teachers who have been teachers who are no longer teachers have value, and we can learn from them, is an incredible pivot. Like,
Yeah.
and so finding ways to do that. Um, Cry the tears you need to cry.
Yeah. For real.
Laugh at the memories. Hold on to small things that, for me, that was helpful. To, I got a like students that were artists and stuff. They would draw me stuff, so I have some of their artwork that I maintain. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and stay connected with former coworkers that you like. That's been
Yeah.
helpful for me too,
Yeah.
because there were some coworkers that were really great in season. Some of them left before I did. Some of them left the same time I did. Some left after. But
Mm-hmm.
try to stay in touch with them when I'm able to,
Yeah.
and at least follow what's going on and congratulate them on their work, or if they're still teaching. Um, yeah, and I think it was one other thing, but I'm getting old, and so I forgot it. Uh,
It's all right. It's all right.
let me see if I can remember. I don't remember. I don't know.
It's
Yeah, just I mean, do what you got to do to take care of yourself in a
yeah.
healthy way.
Always. Mm-hmm.
In a healthy way, in a way that's not going to hurt or harm others, but also a way that's going to kind of build you up, and
Yeah.
um, and help the world be better. And I mean, keep following the babies, man, and celebrate them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they transition, man. The kids, depending on if you're elementary school, you get a kid for a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're in middle school, you may get them for a year, see them around for 3 years, or whatever the case is. High school, particularly in an arts type setting, you may be dealing with a kid for 4 years or 2 years, or whatever the case is. But as they continue to grow and you see them, celebrate them. And when you
Mm.
see the kids, just remind them, man, you used to be a little. Or
Okay.
so I'm so glad to see that you've grown, and acknowledge the fact that even if they don't remember every moment, that you were a part of the process of
Yeah.
planting and watering a human being
Mm-hmm.
that is now out here doing something great. And listen, all of our students ain't doing something great. You know what I mean? Like, all
Yeah.
of them are, I mean, part of one of the biggest struggles I've had grieving wise is hearing about former students who've been killed,
Yes.
or have died for other reasons, but in
Mm-hmm.
particular those who've been killed,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I knew the potential they had,
Yeah.
and it's just like remembering conversations. And so, as you see kids that are doing great, celebrate them. You
Mm-hmm.
run into a kid that is maybe struggling to find their way. You were a trusted voice for a season, so still lean into that.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, this is what I was gonna say
Okay.
was
Got it.
find who you are apart from teaching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just find that authentic space, um, apart from any of the roles that you have, whether it's father or significant other or mother or auntie or whatever. Find that find that thing that makes you light up outside of that.
Yeah.
So that you can live into that space and continue to become incredible person and have incredible impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically while you're still in it. That's like if you're still a teacher,
Yeah.
find who you are outside of being a
Absolutely.
teacher right now.
Absolutely.
Do it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Cause yeah, I really wish that I would have known that then, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Um it's a very time consuming job. I mean, it starts very early in the morning. Um and though you may not get off late in the afternoon, the preparation and the
Decompression.
decompressing
Yeah.
that you have to do after work,
Lord have mercy.
you understand? And then the preparation, the going to bed a little bit earlier so that you
Mm-hmm.
can get up. It's like, and it's that for months out of a year, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
That's it's easy to get lost in that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not shaming myself or anybody. I just, I really wish that I would have taken heed
Rhythm and
to these
routine. You got to
things.
break it up.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
find ways to break it up so that you can stay connected to who you are and don't become so married
Yeah.
to just this one part of you.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, think about like teacher content. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like outfit of the day as a teacher.
Right.
It's like these are like niche things, but
Mm-hmm.
like where everybody does it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? We all get very and I think it's the community desire, right?
Yeah.
Like it's you want to find your community. You're talking to your community specifically. I get it because there's only but so many people that's gonna get it,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
For sure.
But it's again easy to get wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, listen to my friend Pastor Marvin Gilliam. Take every piece of advice he just gave, write it down, run it back, and write it down. Yes, yes. Now to end, something beautiful on the other
Yes.
side of being Mr. Gilliam
Mm-hmm.
at your school for 12 years that you didn't expect.
Um, you know what I didn't expect?
What's that?
I did not expect to. So I know I just said like don't get so caught up in your roles, but just hear me out, okay?
Walk with me.
I did not expect that I was gonna be like one of the popular dads.
Okay.
Man, I went to my kid's school. My daughter's birthday. Well, I don't know when you gonna see this, but my daughter's birthday was recently.
Okay.
I went to school to take her lunch. She didn't want me to eat lunch with her. Well, all the other kids in the cafeteria was just like, "What's up, Marvin and Jameson and Layla's dad? Hey, Mr. Gilliam." And I was just like, the
Wow.
kids, like, it was just like dapping me up and everything.
They
And I think
respect you.
that's the whole piece of like consistently showing
Uh-huh.
love. Like, every time I see him, I'm like, "Hey, man, you good? You doing all right?
Yeah.
Great game." I've seen him playing sports, whatever. Great game. All of those kind of things. Just kind of, and I don't, maybe my kids be telling them stories about my dad is this. Some reason they think I'm famous. Some reason the kids at school think I'm
Period.
famous for some
Yes,
reason. But
exactly.
I'm
He
like,
is.
I ain't famous. I'm just out here preaching about Jesus.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Just doing the Lord's
But
work.
that's probably been. I mean, that piece has been really good. I think the other piece, and this kind of ties in with how to manage the grief piece. That is developing, like, taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a teacher, because of the timepiece, you don't do a
Mm-hmm.
good job of you don't do a good job of eating well,
No.
working out, all those kind of things.
Mm-mm.
And so being able to get into those rhythms on the other side of this has been a blessing. Because I in retrospect I realized how terribly I treated myself.
Yeah.
Um, in for the sake of showing up for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And doing the job, and so too many Wendy's runs on Belt Boulevard, like,
Wow.
I'm saying, like,
Oof.
too many like late nights, early mornings, not getting enough rest, too much,
Mm-hmm.
not enough working out. My sister always jokes now. She said, "You look younger at 43 than you did at 35," and
Ain't he all right?
I'm like, God is good,
Wow.
and it's just
Mm-hmm.
a product of now being able to take better care
100%.
of myself. And prioritize myself in that way. And so, just doing those things, has been really a huge blessing on the other side. A
I
beautiful thing.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And I relate to that
Yeah.
100%.
And to help you manage the grief too.
Yeah. Hello.
Go
Hello.
take a walk, man. I'm telling you.
Go touch some grass. Feel the rain on your skin or
Yeah.
the sun. It's whatever your vibe
Yeah.
is. I like both,
Yeah.
but 100%.
I'll tell you the one thing I struggle with the most
Okay,
though is
what's
I
that?
still on teacher calendar brain.
Okay. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
I'm still on teacher calendar
Oh
brain.
my God.
Like, I'm still like school year. It's just like, all right, cool, boom. All right, we got 3. I'm like, no, you don't got 3
No, you
months.
don't.
What are you talking about? What are we talking about here?
People do that though. People do
Yeah.
that though. If that helps you manage like your life a little bit better. Some people look at things in like quarters.
Yeah.
Some people look at things like as a school calendar
Right.
or like as a semester.
Yeah.
I have this semester, I want to get this stuff
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Like that is a
It's a lot of
thing.
productivity joints. Like one of my favorites that I'm trying to implement is a 12-week year is a good one. Where you got 12 weeks. It's like you look at a quarter of the year as a full year, and you're
Yeah.
trying to accomplish some things. So, but I mean, like, oh, spring break. Oh, this, and I'm like, why am I worried about that? That don't have nothing to do. I mean, it got to do with my kids, but
I still plan to do things for spring break,
yeah.
and what am I spring breaking for? Like there's no reason for me to be doing that, but I'm going to Puerto Rico for spring break.
Hey,
Yeah, whatever that
listen, I feel
means.
like everybody should have spring break.
Yeah, period,
For
period.
real.
You deserve.
You
Okay.
deserve it. That's why I should have did more of that when I was teaching. I would be like spring break and just be like at the
Lit.
house. I should have spring break and got my tail on the plane and went
I
somewhere.
didn't do it until the last
Yep.
couple of years of
I
my
should have been on
career.
a
I'm
plane.
telling you.
Should have been out
I'm
of here.
telling you. That's a whole nother thing
Yeah.
about teachers not taking care of themselves. That could be a whole segment by itself because
Yeah.
like you really do.
Yeah.
I can't get into it. I can't get into it. We'll be
Yeah.
here all day. I really like literally. Let me jot that down.
That's a podcast note. That episode coming soon.
Yeah.
I don't know what number episode this is. It's gonna be like episode like 5 after this. So that means you got to keep watching and come back.
No, for
Support
real.
my friend and what she talking about.
For
Teacher self
real.
care.
Hello. They like to send them little people in there to make you do them little things. I don't know if you ever experienced that
What's that?
or was that a post 2020 thing?
I don't know.
They'll
What's
come
that?
in and they'll make you do these little. You can make your own air freshener. You
Oh,
can
the
paint
little
a
like
picture.
the little wellness stuff.
Yes.
Nah, they just used to give us Chick-fil-A box lunches. Thank you for your service.
You wonder why we don't take care of us. They don't take care of us either. Just feed you crap and then tell you to keep it working. Keep working.
We had too many cool activities like that.
Oh my goodness!
But we, they used to give us little cool stuff, little trinkets and stuff.
It was nice. The thought.
Yeah, I'm appreciative, but I also recognize it. That's why I be trying to do stuff with make sure teacher appreciation is a good week for teachers in my kids' life and all of that. We take that very seriously.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's paying it forward.
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely.
Man. This has been enlightening, beautiful. I love hearing your story.
Appreciate you.
I
Man.
love
Thank
you
you
sharing everything. Thank you so much for being here.
I haven't really talked about this, like the post teacher thing.
Yeah.
So it's I'm just in pockets here and there.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It really is something that I feel like I know a lot of teachers that I worked with that no longer teach, and so I knew I wasn't the only one that had feelings associated with this thing. Absolutely. And so I'm really glad that I'm able to connect with people like you to be able to talk about this because I think, like I said, a community piece is important, and it might be a little bit of a niche subject matter, but I also feel like generally transitioning is applicable to everybody. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So I really do appreciate Marvin Gilliam for being here, y'all. Thank you
for the
so
opportunity.
Much.
Y'all make sure y'all like, subscribe, follow, donate. All of the things.
Thank you. School's Out the podcast.
School's Out the podcast.
Yes. And tell them where they can find you on social media.
Oh man, so at Marvin Gilliam Jr. on Facebook. No, on Instagram, on X. I think that's what my X is. I don't know. I pastor a church too. So the Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Richmond at TMCBC RVA on all platforms. So that's YouTube. That's find us at YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the spots. So we talk about Jesus and other stuff.
Come on, comment, subscribe, donate to the Mount Carmel.
And if you're in Richmond, pull up.
Yes.
Pull up. 11 o'clock on Sundays, we in there.
Period.
Right? Come through, man. Come stop by and say you saw me on the pod.
Yes. Yes. Thank y'all so much for joining us again. This is formerly known as Miss Johnson, but you can call me Ashley at School's Out the podcast. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Peace.